Hey everyone, Lori Curtis Dunbar here. Welcome back to Painted Studio. It is a beautiful sunny Wednesday out. We're getting the last little bits of summer here and it is stunning. I gotta tell you, I'm very fortunate to have such lovely days to enjoy. And as a result, we've had, sorry, I just dropped stuff on the floor. As a result, we've had the doors open in here for 2 days. The air's moving through. It's a little bit of heaven right now. And it's made it really comfortable to work in here. So while, hey Denise, nice to see you here. So while I wasn't on camera, I was doing stuff to get us ready for today's live. So if you look at the table back here, where you see my iPad flopped over and everything. This is the table yesterday that we were cleaning on the live. I have then hit it with sandpaper. I took a sander and sanded the tar out of the top because that's where the most really messy, flawed damage was that I was going to have to deal with on a surface. I cleaned, sanded, and stripped, cleaned and sanded the whole rest of the thing. Thanks, Manada. But I did not strip it all the way down. I sanded the tar out of the top because it was really flaky and really coming up everywhere. But on the rest of this, the paint was fairly well secured. So I went through the whole thing. I went over the entire surface, got in, turned it upside down, did the whole 9 yards so that I could see where the veneer was coming loose. I chipped off all the old loose veneer. I sanded it down where it needed to be sanded, and then I put a coat of 2-pound cut shellac on here. Hey Lisa, nice to see you here, and Carol, oh gosh, it's so good to see you all here. I went to flip a notification off and it threw my whole screen down. Hey Kathy Brown, nice to see you. Hey Annette. So after I did all the cleaning and the sanding to get the chipped off paint off the top, I then put a coat of shellac over the whole thing. This is mahogany under here, at least the veneer is. And there's a lot of mahogany stain on it. And when I was cleaning it and when I was going my hands over it, I could see that whoever did this before I did didn't take the minute to shellac it. And so there was pink bleeding through their paint, and I'm not gonna have anything bleeding through. Now we're gonna do it as a dark table. So that'll, again, aid in preventing some of the bleeding, but I still have to deal with all the mess that was on there and that stringy paint, that webby stuff. It's kind of rubbery, so I actually had to go over it several times, wipe it down with alcohol, try to sand it down a little, but it wants to gum up. So the only really easy way to remove that is to actually strip it. And no, I'm not stripping the table if I don't have to, and this table doesn't require it. Other than that, I will work over it. This is clearly something that is affected by alcohol, so it's going to be easy to bond with the shellac that was on here, and then I have a clean, fresh surface to paint on. Now, we'll start doing some stuff on that because I still have my little black table right down here that we were working on the other day. Now, I'm going to slide up my tripod so you can have a better idea of what I'm really doing, and then I'll angle the camera a little better so you're really sort of over the table. So what I did after we did this yesterday, we top coated it, I painted the center white. Not exciting, I know, but that's because we're going to decoupage over it, and I want a white underneath my paper so that my colors read the sharpest. And then what I did is I placed a piece of paper on here that is almost exactly perfect for this. It's a little short on one end and the other. Will the gummy surface create crackle? No, because I sealed it up with shellac. The shellac will not let any of it crackle. It might have, but I knew that that would be an issue, so I decided I'm not going to let that happen. Now what I did is I placed my paper on here, and then I traced it with a pencil around the edges of the table here so that this is going to now fit in the center. It'll be off just a smidge in a couple places, that's not a problem because we got a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing with it. So to make my own life a little easier, I'm going to do this in a way that I normally don't. So let me open my can here. And this is hand-printed marble paper that I got at the Paper Source. There's lots of great paper places online. I think there's some place called Paper Outlet that I was getting a lot of stuff from. But I kind of collect papers and then they get wet and somebody floods my basement or my studio or something happens. I end up throwing them out and having to start my collection all over again. Yeah, those have been hard moments for me. So I'm going to lift this up and I'm just going to smear a little Set Coat Clear under here. And then I'm going to shift my paper around just a little bit to get it right where I wanted it. So what that's done now is it's tacked it to the surface lightly. Anybody who's done decoupage knows that you put a damp surface down, then you put damp back over it so that the medium penetrates all the way through the paper and bonds it really well. But the way I'm doing it is this way because I've got to cut out this pattern for the pie crust edge of the table. Now, would this be easier if I had just sat down and cut this with it sitting in my lap? Yes, but because this doesn't quite fit and this has been beaten on, these edges are all a little awkward, so it's easier if I cut it in place and then I don't have to try to fit it later on. This is actually going to work. Well, it's a bigger pain in my neck right now. It's going to actually work out better in the long run. See, there we go. So it's laying in close, and if it's not perfect, that's okay. I don't need it to be perfect up around the edge. I just want it to all fit where it's supposed to be in place. So I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm doing, so I'm going to change the camera angle. So I've got it still tacked right there. Going just fine. Almost to the end on this side. There we go. get this side. Okay. Almost to the end on this side, and then we'll be able to adhere it to the whole surface. No, your sound did not go out. I just haven't been talking. I've been concentrating on where I'm cutting. Alrighty. So I shifted this a little bit by accident, so I'm gonna have to see if I can wet this paper enough to let me lift it a little bit. Let's see if it'll lift up a little bit if I get it wet enough. And that's working. And what I'm doing here is I'm working my brush gently under the paper to lift it but not tear it. And I'm using the Set Coat Clear to re-wet the paper so I can lift it a little bit. There we go. No biggie. Sort of trying to avoid having to reposition it, but you know, shit happens. Sorry folks, I just cursed, so if you don't like cursing, bleep that part. All right, there we go. So now it's tacked down properly, it's in its position. I can go under here and generously apply the Set Coat Clear, lay it down, and smooth the paper back over it. And this will dry crystal clear on here, but because we're using Set Coat, this also gives me a great paintable surface that I can do more stuff over, which, you know, of course I'm going to be doing that. And I don't worry that it's not perfect on the edges, because the edges have another part of the treatment coming that I have not shared. And I won't share it until we get there, because, you know, we're on step 2 and that's like step 47 million. I'm kidding, it's not that many steps, but I don't need to jump ahead. One of the things I'm always trying to do is not go jump ahead when I need to stay focused at the place that I'm at. It's really, really easy to jump ahead. So this is going to create a super strong bond with both the paper and the paint, and then create a great durable paintable surface with the paper on here. But no, this is not the only thing we're doing to the stop. There's more coming. So I made the mistake of watching Wolves of Wall Street last night and Birds of Prey, both of which Margot Robbie are in, and I had the weirdest dreams of Margot Robbie married to Leonardo DiCaprio's character Jordan, but being Harley Quinn and going like crazy on the FBI when they tried to bust him for insider trading and securities fraud and all that other stuff they busted him for all those years ago. But I had the most confused dreams from it. So I'm wiping off the extra set coat clear on the edge because I've already put top coat on there, so I don't need the set coat on it as well. And it's not gonna help my top coat at all, so I don't need to leave it on there. I'm generally pretty good, especially these handmade papers, because they tend to be super porous, are really great for doing decoupage. They absorb the liquid and therefore stick down to the surface better than stuff like wrapping paper and things. But you can still get bubbles under them. So once I've done all of this, hang on just a second, I forgot one thing. The gloves. So this is what you need gloves for doing this. Not because I'm afraid to get a little paint on my fingers, because clearly I'm not, but what this does allows me to do this. And then I get to move those air bubbles to the edge. But you want to make sure that there's very liquid set coat clear to do this, because if you try to do it when it's drying up, the paper will grab to your glove and ruin it. All right, let's go turn this way. Put a little smear over here. And then I come back with my brush because I don't want to leave those smear marks there, and then brush it all. Oopsie, there's another bubble I missed. And the creases and everything, that's all part of this. I'm good with it. Not everybody can handle creases. Personally, I like them. I think they add character. I think they're interesting. Almost give it a leathery look when it dries. Okay, so that's gonna sit there dry like that. And then I need one more thing. Where did I put them? Probably somewhere else, knowing me. Hang on just a second, folks. Just need a little damp rag there so that I can come around here and wipe the extra off. Now the other thing you need to know is that when you use these handmade papers, the glue, the adhesive, our Set Coat Clear, can start lifting some of the ink in the paper. So don't be surprised when you do something like I'm doing right now, when you wipe back and you see some of the ink come off on the cloth. It's not a big deal. It's fixable. Actually, fixable. It's not even a problem. It just dries. You don't notice it. All right, so we're going to leave that alone and let that dry overnight. I think we're about done for the day, unless you all want to watch me paint some of this black, because that's my next job is to paint this table. So let me take the camera over here for a minute, and I'm going to flip it down, up, lower it down so I can see it a little bit, because you're too close. I can't, if you're not close enough, I can't see for anything. Hey, Maddie. Nice to see you here. Sorry, my gooseneck is wiggling. Brandy, nice to see you. Donna, Patricia. Lisa, I've got patience. Yeah, you know, I kind of get into some of this stuff. I really enjoy it. It is not for everybody, and that's okay. Sorry, something bit me on the ankle, and I'm scratching my ankle. But that's okay. You know, everybody does different things. What is really going to be creating the patience is I have little pieces of paper that I have to cut out of these pieces that I have all stashed over here to create the pattern that's going to go over this. So that's when I might not have a live tomorrow if I have to keep doing all of that. It might keep me there all day just cutting paper and cutting paper. I don't think you need to sit there and watch me cut paper. All right, we're gonna do just a little bit with the black Set Coat on here so you can see this, but I really want this to dry overnight so that all the alcohol has had a chance to evaporate from the shellac. I prefer that, but I'm gonna just paint it to show you how well, God, you know, you always see me bragging about Set Coat. Set Coat, Bondago, and Benjamin Moore Aura are my go-to furniture paints. They all dry hard, and I don't use Bondago that much because I'm a Faux Effects distributor. So, but I can tell you that it's a great product too, if you're not there. I just, you know, you can't use the cheapest paint. I'm sorry, you just can't. If you want quality results, using cheap Home Depot contractor grade super matte paint just isn't going to get that for you. You have to understand. If you want quality results, then you need to use quality products. All right, so I'm going to turn the camera this way. I think I'll zoom in, angle it down just a little bit. Boy, it's a good thing I was planning on going to Best Buy and looking for a new tripod today. All right, so we're just gonna do this part right in here so you can see the level of opacity from Set Coat. Set Coat, when you open the gallon, will look thicker than a lot of paints. It'll almost look a little puddingy. It can be thinned 20% with water. It's 100% acrylic, levels like oil paint, which is one of the reasons it's my go-to. Now you can't find faux effects products in most paint stores. It's a specialty company product. They used to, a few Sherwin-Williams around here used to be sub-distributor for the same gal I'm a sub-distributor for. So you used to be able to pick some products up at like a Sherwin-Williams or a local Benjamin Moore, but they aren't contracted through them. So this is not something you're going to find in just in any store. And I've been doing this for 30 years, so I have products that I like, use, recommend constantly because they are my fail-safe go-tos, and Set Coat is one of them. So I'm just gonna paint over here, work my paint into that little seashell detail in there and along the side. Now you watched me just do that big brush move, plus I painted the corner detail over here, and I'm going to paint this detail in the center. One smooth move, none of this, none of that, because it leaves bad marks. You can't see it on the camera, but it leaves bad marks. You want to run your brush end to end, swooping it in and out, lifting it at the end so that you can not get big chunky bristle marks at the end of your piece either. But what I also wanted to show you was that why I recommend Set Coat is it spreads and it stretches and doesn't lose opacity. So 2 little dips into my can here. I'm, not that much paint on my brush, and I've got 100% coverage. Get my end here that you all can't see. Zoom back out a little bit. So not only does it dry super hard and is interior and exterior rated, but it has amazing coverage. They do have a tint base for this, but you can use colorants that you get from like Sherwin-Williams and stuff, but it will not make an exact match to your Sherwin-Williams colors that way, because our tint base with faux effects is a little different than the tint base with Sherwin-Williams, which is different than tint base with Benjamin Moore, all of those. They're all proprietary. So they're all going to take the colorants a little differently, so you won't have exactly the same color. I always say if you're going to use faux effects Set Coat tint base to match your color, have them shoot the color formulation into a cup for you at your local paint store, and start half dose, mix, then add gradually until you get to where you want to be, so that you can adjust it to the right coloration. So you can see, look how nicely that covers. I mean, Set Coat is really awesome. All right, come back this way. All right, so I think it's a little after 5. I have some errands to run now. The day is done. I'm sure you're all ready to go home, maybe have a little glass of wine, have some dinner. I'm kind of there myself. So I'm going to clean up all my messes, and I will have this all painted black by the time we're back tomorrow, and we'll talk about where we're going with our next steps with all of this. All right, everybody. Leah, thank you for coming. Tammy, thank you. What did I do to the second piece to make the top brown now? Oh, Desiree, I sanded the crap out of it. This was done with spray paints and spray webbing paint, stuff that you get at like Home Depot, and it can create great looks, but it's really chippy. It doesn't, especially on a tabletop like this that was hard use. So I just basically kept sanding it until it all came out, and then I put a coat of my 2 pound cut unwaxed shellac over the whole thing because it is mahogany and mahogany stain, so it is sealed up so I don't have any of that stain and tannins coming up through into my next level. So I think that's why it looks so nice, and it actually looks nicer in the pictures than it does in person because it's kind of glossy from the shellac and it made the color nice and deep on the top, but I gotta tell you, it looks like crap up close. It's very gouged up, very uneven. There's still chips of paint and everything, so we're not gonna be missing this tabletop in the way it is. Plus the veneer is kind of beat up, so we're gonna do things that hide the flaws and make it a brand new piece. Thanks for coming by, everybody. Have a great evening. If I missed your question, don't worry, I go back and answer them. I do put down all the products that I've used that we carry here in the header once we finish the live. The reason I don't do that beforehand is because I change my mind halfway through things, and well, frankly, I'd have to edit it anyway. So anyway, have a great evening, everybody. Tomorrow's Thursday. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.